bar model problems that we will do today are a little more difficult than the ones we've been doing. For this reason, we're going to learn a new technique that will help with these. But for this first problem, I'm going to solve it in two ways so you can see how this new technique makes it a little simpler. Here's the first problem. Alice has birds. 1/6 of the birds are green, 1/3 of the birds are blue, 2/5 of the rest are yellow. If 12 are yellow, how many more blue than green birds are there? So let's draw our bar, which represents Alice's birds. Now, we want our bar to have 6 parts because we're told 1/6 are green. When I draw 6 parts, I first split it in 2, and then I split each of those into 3. So I have 6. Now we'll fill it in with what we're given. 1/6 of the birds are green. So 1/6 would be just one of those 6 parts. Those birds are green. 1/3 of the total birds are blue. So 1/3 of 6 parts would be 2 parts. 1/3 of 6 is 2. So you take 6, divide it by 3, you get 2. So 2 parts would be 1/3 of the birds. Those are blue. Now here's where it gets tricky. 2/5 of the rest are yellow, but the rest has only 3 parts. And 3 parts cannot be easily divided into fifths. So what we need to do, using the technique we've used so far, we would divide these parts into smaller parts so that we had a number that we could take 1/5 of. So we might divide each of these into 5 parts. So then we would have 15 total parts. Then we could take 2/5 of 15 because 15 is a multiple of 5. So we'll do it this way first, and then I'll show you an easier way. So if I want to turn each of these parts into 5 parts, I draw 4 lines inside of each part. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as we've learned in the past, when you're breaking down parts, break them all down so that we all have equal parts. So I'm going to do it over here too. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now each of those 6 has been broken down into 5 parts. So now we can go back to our problem. 2/5 of the rest. Okay, so in this rest, this section here, which represents the rest of the birds, there are 15 parts now, because 5, 10, 15. If we want to take 2/5 of that, let's figure out what 1/5 of 15 is. 1/5 of 15 would be 3, because 15 divided by 5 is 3. So every 3 of these is a 1/5. So I'm just going to draw this so you can see. If I take these 3, that's a 1/5 of the rest. These 3, these 3, these 3, and those 3. So you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we can take 2/5 of those, which will be yellow. So like this one and this one are yellow. So now we're told that there's 12 yellow. So that section here is 12 yellow birds. So then we can figure out how many birds are in each part. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts here. 12 total birds, so each must be 2. Okay, so I'm just drawing little 2's up here. So each of those parts is 2. So now we can maybe answer our question because we know what each part on our bar model represents. It represents 2 birds. So how many more blue than green birds are there? So green birds, if each was 2, 2 times 5, that would be 10 birds here. because 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then the bluebirds, you'll see that there's actually 10 parts. 5, 10 times 2 would be 20. So the difference would be 10. There are 10 more bluebirds than green birds. So we finish by writing a sentence. There are 10 more blue birds than green birds. Okay, now that got a little tricky because we had to draw so many small parts. So I'm going to show you another way to solve this problem. That makes it a little easier. Okay, so we're going to start by drawing our bar model again. So birds. We want to draw 6 parts. And then a 6th were green. So here's our green. And a 3rd were blue. So here's our blue. Now we get to that tricky part. 2/5 of the rest are yellow. So now what we're going to do now is, instead of breaking this up, we're going to draw another bar model underneath just that section. I'm going to show you why this helps. Okay, and we're going to represent 2/5 of this section. So now I'm going to divide this bar model into fifths. And I'm going to show that 2 of those 2/5 are yellow. Okay, so those are the yellow birds. So 2/5 of the rest are yellow. So this drawing does represent this. This is the rest. We're just redrawing that section using different partitions. 2/5 of the rest are yellow. Now we're given that there are 12 yellow. So that means each of these sections is 6. So now what we can do, because we know each of these are 6, we know this whole section here would be 6 times 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 30. So if we know this whole section is 30, and this section is equal to this section, then each of these sections are 10. 10, 20, 30, because this 30 equals this 30. So now we can put 10 in all of these and answer our question pretty simply. How many more blue than green birds are there? Well, we can see that there's 20 blue and 10 green, and there are 10 more blue than green birds. So we get the same answer, but I think it's a little easier this way. It's not as messy drawing all those small little parts. So so the next question that you're going to try on your own is similar to this. So you can try this technique and see how it works for you. Pause the video and give it a try. Okay, now we're going to try that new technique we learned on this problem. Chuck spent 1/4 of his allowance on a hat and 2/5 of the remainder on a book. If he spent $18 on the book, how much did he have at first? Okay, so our bar is going to represent Chuck's allowance. So we'll label it Chuck's allowance. And we know that he spent 1/4 on a hat. So I'm going to draw fourths. And I'm going to label 1/4 of that his hat. So this here is what he spent on a hat. Now 2/5 of the remainder he spent on a book. Now again, we can't easily take 2/5 of 3. As we showed before, you could break that down into 15ths and do it, but we're using this new technique. So what we're going to do is redraw a similar length bar right under it, and we're going to break that into fifths. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 2/5 he spent on a book. So let's show that. Book. I guess my pen is not very dark. I'm going to rewrite that. Okay, and we know that the book was $18. So if the book was $18, then each of these sections would be 9, because 9 plus 9 is 18, which means each of these sections is 9, because those are equal parts. So now we can say how long this section is. That would just be 9 times 5, or $45. So that means this is also $45, because this long part here is equal to that long part there. So now we can say that each of these bigger parts up here would be 15, because 45 divided by 3 is 15. So now maybe we have enough to answer our question. This is also 15, because those were equal parts. How much money did he have at first? So we had 15 times 4, so that would be $60. He had, let's write our sentence, he had $60 at first. So there we go. I think your homework problem, I'm just going to look at it real quick. Yep, you can use the same technique for the homework problem. So give it a try and we'll go over it in class.